We are live. I love technology. It's happened again. Hello, Little Rock Church. Welcome to the Next Minute with the Ministers, where Dave, John, and I, we sit down for just a few moments throughout the day. We pause. We go to and fro wherever the discussion takes us, mostly centered around the sermon. But we started a new thing last week where we talk about kind of a reverse sponsorship, and which means instead of us trying to seek sponsorship, we did that one week. Did not go well. We didn't get any feedback from the Lodge Iron people or AeroPress. Whataburger, ketchup. So we decided, hey, what if we start promoting, because we are captains of industry, and we wanted to promote other people's businesses in Central Arkansas. And John Kimberlin brought this one in this morning, and this is probably the best thing I've seen in a long time. John, glory boats, funeral caskets for outdoorsmen. Where'd you find this?
Found it at the cleaners. Picking up some of my clothes and stuff last week, and then hey, what do you know, they got a setup of flyers of glory boats.
I've already sent the picture to several people within the last 2 minutes, but while we were getting this going, because I think it's so good. This company, it's made in Little Rock, and glory boats, it's exactly what it sounds like. Funeral caskets shaped like fishing boats. They're designed to celebrate the lives of those who loved the outdoors. Do you think they float?
I hope not. Big rain comes, I guess you don't want it to float.
Oh, so they can easily be used in place of traditional caskets. They're manufactured here in Little Rock, and they're delivered almost anywhere within 24 to 48 hours. No shipping fee anywhere in Arkansas. And celebrate the life of your outdoorsman with a glory boat. So I think for us, it's kind of humorous. I love the idea anytime a family, it's unique, which is why I'm kind of laughing. But I love this business model. I love the idea of someone being unique with their funeral plans, and so I think it's a home run in a lot of ways. So
yeah, once this video goes viral and we get up to our 23 views, I mean that business is going to take off. I'm telling you, as soon as people start going to cleaners a little more often, and they find out that business exists, man, they're going to make a killing in South Arkansas, Louisiana.
Yep.
Alabama, Florida. I mean, I'm telling you that they're going to have to go regional quick, or someone else is going to steal their glory boat idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can patent it, but I'm just telling you that it's brilliant. I love it.
It is a brilliant model. It's so unique. Like when Dave, you handed it to me, I was like, oh, that's so unique. So go check out gloryboats.com. Is our reverse sponsor for today. John, you preached Sunday, Luke 15, right?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that? What do we need to know about this text?
So it's Luke 15. It is the parable of the compassionate father, also known as the parable of the prodigal son. And looking at that parable more intently, but we kind of looked over there at the lost sheep and the lost coin, and filtering through what Jesus is kind of saying to not just to the Pharisees and scribes that are there, but to the whole tax collectors and sinners, and kind of bringing them all into these parables and allowing them to see, hey, where am I as one of these characters? What's going on? What's happening with me? And coming to celebrate the repentant sinners? Or am I one of those that, I need to be repentant. I need to be that sheep that is found, or the son that comes home, or the son that actually is asked to join the party. Which one want to come in? So it was a great story to look at, and some fun to have, and to share a story about me getting lost. But so I want to just ask the question to you guys. We'll start with the just lost things, as Jesus does. But what is something that you have lost that was pretty dramatic, and then you actually found it, and there's just this sense of like, whoo, I am so glad to be reunited with this.
Do you know, Dave? I know mine.
Go ahead.
All right. So I was in Dillard's with Madeline when she was maybe three or four, and I lost her.
Oh,
so that's a pretty big one when you lose a kid. That's just a big thing. So I had lost her, and that was panic moment. It was the Dillards. They were constantly, I don't know if they were going out of business, but it seemed where a lot of Dillard's clothes went to die. Like stores would send their extras, bunch of clothes, bunch of the round racks where
Dillard's outlet, maybe.
Yeah, like a Dillard's outlet type thing. And so we were there, and
they
she
call
was
those dirty Dillards.
Dirty Dillards. All right.
Do they?
That kind of makes sense. Like,
Yeah, if you've been there, you know.
that's not a bad. Had the vibe of a Kmart, but the clothing of a Dillard's.
Yeah, but
No
they're
wonder we're
organized
not
like a
sponsored by
Goodwill.
Dillard's.
Like the clothes are in color, like all the whites are together and the greens are together. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a huge fan of Dirty Dillards. I don't know if there are anymore, but
All
yeah,
right.
like,
So lost her. She was in the middle of one of those round things playing hide and seek, and there was a bunch of clothes, and I was starting to yell out her name, Madeline, and it took it wasn't long, maybe 2-3 minutes, but the panic of it would have been easy for someone just to grab her and walk away. Like my mind went there immediately of someone had kidnapped, she's 3, she's running around on the floor. And then I called her enough, she heard it, she came out, giggled, and it was, if you've ever had that experience, it's like, oh, the heart is racing, and then this feeling of elation.
Yeah.
So that's the most severe. But I've lost car keys and stuff like that too.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I remember one time specifically could not find my keys, so much so that like I'm praying, Lord, help me find my keys. Like I was in that such desperation. But I think you're asking for something a little bit more significant. But yeah, we probably need to phone a friend, get my wife on here, because she probably is the one that found it. Let's just be honest. If I've lost it, it was her that found it. Definitely not me. But I'm gonna have to keep thinking about that one.
Yeah, I had a pair of sunglasses one time that loved, wore all the time, and one came to church with them on and decided that I need to put them up somewhere, and I didn't want the kids to see them. I didn't want them to walk out of there, and so I just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna protect them. So I opened the cabinet and put them inside basically a Ziploc bag box, so more quart size or whatever, and I put it in there, stuff it in there, throw it in there, and I end up basically hiding it for myself. Forgot that I wore them there, but next day I'm looking for them, can't find them, but they're somewhere because I don't really have left them. And then so it's like 3 days later that I'm like really intently now looking for them, and I'm calling a friend like, hey, we were at your church, did I leave them there, did you see anything? Can't find them. Just finally kind of go to that place where, okay, I've lost them, I don't know where they're at. And so we buy a new pair, and it comes to be like, that was August, it comes to be Super Bowl Sunday. We're at the church, we're having the Super Bowl party, we have all this food out, it's winding down. This is the Super Bowl where the catch was on the helmet to beat the Patriots. I think it was the Giants who beat the Patriots at that time, but I forget who did the catch and everything. But we were all excited, yelling kind of for that moment, those kind of things. And then as I'm putting up food, I'm like, I need some stuff to, something to put these in. And I reach out to grab the Ziploc box. And as I put my hand in there, my fingers like hit the sunglasses. And I'm like, what's in there? And I pull it down, and it's just like, yes, after 6 months of not having these things, I have found them again, that I've hidden them for myself, but just shared some joy and excitement, even in the midst of this Super Bowl party. So.
Yeah, it's always like buy a second one and then you find the lost one,
Yeah.
And so then it's like, all right, which one do I love? The one that I have had for a long time that I cherish, or the brand new one that's the replacement version of it,
Yeah. Well, we looked at again, the prodigal son, and I kind of really just shared in a perspective of, I didn't know if he was going to say things, or a perspective of looking at all 3 characters, and then just kind of trying to imagine like where I am today. Am I in one of these situations? Am I in a situation where I feel like I'm in a foreign land and I need to come home to the Father? Am I in a situation where I'm just resistant against grace and not excited about it being extended to others around me, or kind of more worried about the property that has been wasted? Or and there are times where I need to be the Father and being compassionate and running out and accepting, receiving, embracing, so that someone who is in that younger brother situation feels compelled to say, hey, this place, this can be a home for me, as I figure out how to get things going, as I figure out how to step out of this foreign land and be able to come back home. So my question is just kind of really, what would y'all add to that from someone in a perspective, and we'll do just kind of all three. What would you be able to tell someone who's coming from that perspective of the younger son first?
The actual prodigal son, lost son,
Yeah.
coming back home. Yeah. Well, I think, gosh, I hope it is a situation where, if you are ready to kind of come home, that you are welcomed back, and I think that's one of the kind of almost tests to know if that is actually where you belong. When you come back, are you welcome back with open arms, are you loved just like it is, like you've never left kind of thing, those kind of friends that you don't get to see all the time. You see them every couple of years, but when you get together, it's just like you pick up right where you left off, that I think that's when yeah, this is my home. This is where I need to be. And hopefully you are like, hey, you're welcome, come on back. We want to hug you. We want to rally around you, as if you never left kind of thing, and so oftentimes we don't come back because we're like, oh, they're going to judge me. They're not going to forgive me. They're going to remember all these bad things. It's like, no, just come on home, and be welcome back in. I think that would be it. That's a great, approach, I guess you could say.
I love that. Yeah. I don't really have much to add other than that is in that God's feelings towards us. So, it's simply to come, and so when that son's coming back, the father, he's not out there, hey, we got to work on you. You've wasted your inheritance. What are you going to do? Like, there's no passive aggressive stance that the father has towards the son. It's just pure joy that the son has come home. And so one is, it's really a message about us, but it's also a message to us. That is also how God views other people. And, and so we might, like John, what you were saying, we might be in any of those situations of the son, one of the sons, the older brother, younger son. But that's part of the Christian message, right? Is that we believe that God feels this way towards all people. And the whole idea is to come. And then the only thing I think I would add for people is remember who's telling the story. So God's love is not in a vacuum. This is from the lips of Jesus. And when you think of the story of who Jesus is and what it cost God to redeem and rescue, it's not, salvation wasn't this, while it's free to us, it wasn't a free thing for him. And so that Jesus is the storyteller of this is what it cost God. Because sometimes people will do that with the story that it's no harm, no foul. It's water under the bridge when we come home. That's completely not true. It's just that the penalty hasn't been placed on us. It's like the father, he absorbed the cost of the son coming home. And in the same way, God absorbs the cost when you and I come home. And so it's this beauty. I mean, I don't know. It's just it's one of those beautiful, beautiful stories of God's attitude towards us. So I would say if anybody's thinking about coming back, come back, come home.
Yeah. And to kind of move it along, and I guess we should have just really done it backwards. I guess we should have started at the father and then the older son and then the younger one, but to kind of go that same direction of just, when you're in that older son position, when you're in that, man, something here just seems so unfair. And we don't always just associate it with because grace was extended, it's unfair. It's just something else about stories, situations, blessings for others, just sometimes rile us up, kind of get us aggravated and kind of get us upset, where we feel like, man, I don't want to be part of this party. And we sometimes even have that judgment of, well, I know their lifestyle or I know what's happening, and so we don't want to join in. But here's the older son who comes and says, hey, he's wasted all your money. And for some reason, even the older son knows it's been like wasted on ladies and those kind of things. But hey, you did this huge thing. And we're left with the picture of him just being, very resentful, and the father entreating him kind of like, hey, just come in. And we never know if he does come in. The story ends with just the father saying, hey, it was fitting for us to celebrate that joy that Ryan was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And so what do we kind of what can we say to kind of help us, help others, help me just kind of relax on those moments of, it's just not fair. but how do I relax and allow God's love to be lavished upon everyone?
I think two things. One is the bigger view of people we don't know. Christians are notoriously awful for eating our own of people we don't know. And I'll give a great example. When Kanye West, I don't know Kanye West. I've never met him. I'll probably never meet him. I'm not getting my theology from Kanye West, but he came out a couple years ago and he's like, I'm giving my life to Christ. And the Christian community ate that up. And well, we got to wait and watch this guy. And who knows? He's really married. He's married to Kim Kardashian, and like we ate, instead of just pausing and being like, "Praise God, someone is headed and pointed towards Christ." Like we eat our own so quickly. So that one level, when we don't know people, we got to stop judging. Just that's not our business. Someone's headed in the right direction, and let God worry about it. And so we pray. So quit. We don't have to be the judge and jury of people that we don't know out there, celebrities, whatever, that's one thing. And then the other side is, if I refuse to have that attitude, I think this is probably the hardest thing about Christianity. When I refuse to have that attitude towards the younger brother, I'm in a sense, it's more than just a sense. I'm rejecting God's grace for my own life. You can't say that's good for me, but not good for you, and be okay with God. And I think that's a tough pill to swallow. Because I want to grade things on a curve and like I'm better than them. And now it's like, come home.
Yeah, I've done the stuff. I followed the rules, and even from stuff I was reading, just the older brother. Sure, he's been home, but his relationship with the father has still been so broken that he doesn't have this even the language that he uses. This son of yours, this thing. Just he doesn't say, "Hey, this is family. Let's do this together." And I'm excited. He has this. It's just unfair.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel like a lot of the explanations for the older son are lacking. I mean, the parable, a man had two sons, right? And we tend to focus on the lost son, the prodigal son, and
we titled it that way.
Yeah, we miss the older son, but gosh, I mean, he kind of gets cheated a little bit, hey, here's your younger brother's out wasting your father's inheritance. That's probably going to affect your inheritance. And yeah, he's been safe. He's been there the whole time. He's been in the presence of his father, that kind of stuff, and has kind of lived a life of blessing, so to speak. But yeah, I think for me, the older son and trying to kind of put yourself in his shoes, that's still kind of new to me, the picture of the loving father and the lost son. Okay. But that older son, I think a lot more of us are kind of in that boat than we are like to admit to, that, we are jealous when God blesses people around us, that are not as good as us or whatever, and so I think that there's definitely some truth there, some reflection that we need to get, of, like you're saying, we don't need to judge people. We don't need to be the judge and jury or but I think a lot of times we do, that's exactly where we are. We look at people and compare them to us, and we're like, man, why can't I get some of that? And we often are a lot more like that older brother than we want to admit. So
I love that last line, or towards the end of the parable, the story, where it says, "Child, you are always with me." So the father talking to the older brother, "Child, you're always with me. Everything I have belongs to you, but it was necessary to celebrate and to rejoice because the brothers of yours was dead and is alive and was lost and is found." Jesus here is really talking to the Pharisees and the religious leaders of their day, how God welcomes sinners and tax collectors and kind of the down and out of, they're not really religious people, whatever that means. And the father is saying, my love for the younger brother who's had this wayward season is not a reflection on you or my love for you. And so I think we got to live in that too. Like when God does show his grace, which he's prone to do so often, it's not a reflection on me. It's a reflection on God. And so in some ways, maybe it's when I'm the older brother, it's selfishness upon selfishness of trying to play God.
And it's not going to run out. That love is not going to run out. And so that kind of leads us into the last character, the father here, and just kind of say sometimes where, where those parts of us needing to be that character and be what Dave was kind of talking about earlier when we talking about the younger son, is a community, an environment, a place where when someone is in that opposite foreign land, they're thinking about, man, how am I going to feel? And it's the father in this story who is, again, not active at this moment, but saying it's the memory of the father's compassion that the younger son remembers and says, whoa, because of my father, because of what I remember of him, because of how he treated his servants, I'm going to head home, because the father has already set up such a great precedent that even the son said, it doesn't say I'm going to head home. He says, I will return. I will arise and go to my father. Like the whole thing, it's not home. It's my father. I will arise and go to my father. Mm-hmm. And so how do we, again, allow ourselves to take a little bit of that role and be very gracious and extending that out?
Yeah, and I'll admit, I feel like I like that approach too that you highlighted, John, of maybe we do need to be more like the father in the story. I think that's a challenging pill also that we need to hear, swallow, whatever. I messed up the metaphor there. But
what is this, a Ryland Brown sermon?
That's all right. We got too many. There's three of us in here. That's too many chiefs in the kitchen.
That's right.
But I thought that was really insightful, and I really like that of we need to be open and welcoming and loving, and we need to be like the father at times to our kids, to our friends, to the people around us. Let's be people of grace and love and forgiveness. I think that's kind of a message that we've kind of woven through a lot of this series. If you really want to talk about rising with Christ and being arisen in this new life in Christ, then man, you're people of love and forgiveness and grace and mercy and welcoming, and we need more of that right now during these times of a very fractured society, a very splintered society where we're just going to fight about everything on Facebook. It's like, man, we need some more open arm, loving type people right now. Mm-hmm. Regardless of if we're loving the older brother or the younger brother, it's like, we just need to, man, we need more of that.
Yeah. Several things come to mind, but I think the big picture, firstly, is that God is quick to extend his grace and forgiveness, and that for us is our model, to be quick to forgive. And the other thing I think when I think of these stories, this is not the totality of Christian life where it's no harm, no foul. The son has money management problems. He has some serious counseling things that he needs to do, but it is the beginning of his story. And the beginning of his story, his reconnection, is celebration with the father. And that's the same thing with us. So it's almost like parables are sometimes meant to be looked kind of 30,000 foot view. And then sometimes we go in and sometimes we go out. And the big point of this is God's attitude towards what the Pharisees considered sinners and tax collectors and prostitutes. And so part of that in our job is the restoration, is the celebration of someone's home. So we're so quick, like we're at the drop of a hat saying we're celebrating with them. And then I think there's that other piece of we don't drop them later on. I think the challenge for me, it's like that Peter, how often do you forgive? 7 times? Well, no, 70 times. So like every day, as often as it takes. And the father, which represents God in the story, it's not easier for him, but I think he gets it in ways. It's harder. I don't know. He's just perfect in all his ways. And yeah. I'm going to say something theologically wrong, so I need to stop. But so our call is just to be quick with forgiveness, and every time, and to come back to how has God treated me. He's always quick to forgive me, so I can extend that to you. Yeah.
And then I brought out just a little bit of that, like the invitation that was always kind of running through Luke's theme of when Jesus calls Levi from the tax collector's booth, and Levi arose and came to eat with them. And again, he's in that meeting, and the Pharisees grumble, mutter at the same time. And he says, hey, it's not well that I've come to. It's the sick that need the doctor. It's the unrighteous that I've come to save. And then you get our story in Luke 15. And then out of Luke 19, you get the story of Zacchaeus, another tax collector that Jesus calls and goes home to his house and eat, and then says, but the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. And there's this theme that's running along with Luke just about, hey, are you a place where we're inviting? Are we a place where just others feel like, hey, man, we got robes and rings inside a closet ready to be handed out for those who are saying, hey, I want to come to the Father. I want to be his child. I want to repent, be forgiven. And then the last thing, I don't know if y'all have any closing remarks, but I just wanted to say, like, the last thing we need to plan is where we buy a full cow and we are just going to cook all of it for one of our meals, right? So I was just talking about how that would be an amazing party where a full cow is ready to be devoured, and we would need a lot of people here to help us eat that.
And we would need to know who's going to eat the tongue. Who's going to have the tongue tacos? That's what I want to know.
Right.
Again.
Dave Garner does that sort of thing. He'll eat them. He definitely would. I was at a Mexican restaurant one time. Were you there, John, where he got the tongue tacos?
Tongue tacos.
I don't eat food that can taste me. I'll say it that way. So I was doing a Bible word study on that word lost in the book of Luke. And real quickly, that word used 27 times, and the sense of lose or lost is there. And be good to come back sometimes to maybe to talk about what that sense of lostness is, because that has modern connotations, which may not always be there as to what Luke meant. So that's my one thought, maybe more of a question instead of a comment. People don't respond well to saying you're lost, even though that's a biblical category. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And John did a good job with it of hey, there's something greater than just life, but it's being found, being known and loved.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a good points there. I think, that was hard for me to also dealing with this parable of, because lost growing up were just people that didn't know Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
those lost sheep and the lost, the coin, they weren't coins, but they were lost sons. They were the bad guys,
Yeah.
That middle story needs a little bit more.
Yeah, when we realize that we're the lost people in the parable sometimes, that's a good one. I think, the only closing thing I'm thinking is, celebration and fattened calf cookouts, hamburgers. I'm in, just let me know. I'm there. If it's a David's burger, if it's a Big Orange burger, I don't care. If it's a Chili's burger, Freddy's burger, Red Robin burger, I'm there. Sign me up.
That's good. I've got a friend who is New Age. She's really New Age is where she's at. And I've got several friends who do not feel quote unquote lost in any sense of they're very comfortable where they're at in life. And so it's an interesting thing too, here in Scripture, that posture that God wants us to have of that the only place I'm supposed to be is in his presence. And so celebrating anybody who's heading that direction, I think is a good thing. I want to celebrate that. I want to be a part of a church that celebrates that all the time. That sounds good. Mm-hmm. Thank you, John. Thank you for preaching on Sunday. This week, so I'll be finishing up the series this week with 1 Corinthians 15, 50 through 58, with the ultimate rising of resurrection. So of putting on incorruptible, whatever that means. We're going to find out what that means, which means we don't really know what that means. And we'll have more questions than we have answers, but we'll figure out that God is going to take care of us and get to see life in light of Jesus's resurrection. And I wish Scripture sometimes gave us more answers than what it does. Just a lot of times it doesn't give us.
It's too busy giving us all the right questions.
No, sometimes it does give us answers. And sometimes it refocuses us to ask the right questions and to answer the right questions, for sure. All right. So we had the hamburger thing on Sunday, and Dave Garner cooked with that. Did you all see anybody else? I wasn't able to be here. We had people, I'm sure, serving.
Yeah. Thank all the regular servers crew, did an amazing job.
That's
So
amazing.
shout outs. I think it's Glenn Graham, Tom and Angie King, Tammy Higdon. I know I'm probably going to miss people who were back there, and I apologize for that. But yes, thank you so much for taking that time and fixing a meal. We had great attendance, I think, out there, and just right there at the level of being too hot and being comfortable. So it was just good to be outside, to do that again, to let those conversations just be stretched. So
what is room temperature? Off topic. When someone says it's room temperature, what does that mean?
76 degrees.
76 degrees.
It means the water or the butter you're cooking with is the same temperature as the ambient air that it's in.
That sounds right. I'm going to go with that. That's helpful. All right, Little Rock Church, we love you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again. If you're traveling this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, please be safe. If not, please join us on Sunday morning. Your presence when we gather together to sing together and take communion, it's an invaluable thing as we worship Jesus together. So I'm going to click end. I always struggle finding the